Both men say a big part of the problem is over-centralisation and control of information from the Minister's office.
I'd like to see the responsibility devolved down. We know that Al-Qaeda and Taliban and others are using the internet, they're using media, and they seem to be on there within 4 to 6 hours. Why shouldn't we set the same aim for ourselves? Let the soldiers have a voice. Let the Australians see what's going on.
In a counterinsurgency like Afghanistan, words are bullets, and we wouldn't expect the Minister to authorise every shot that Australian soldiers fire, but yet we're expecting him to authorise every word that the Department of Defence says publicly.
Defence Minister Stephen Smith declined to be interviewed for this story, but late yesterday, his office provided us with answers to our written questions about the release of the material. It said,
"The information asserted to be cleared for public release in fact pertained to an ongoing operation. Defence advises that early publication could have jeopardised follow-on missions and potentially put Australian soldiers at increased risk."
Which could explain why the footage wasn't released early, but not why it hasn't been released since the operation. It also raises another question. Why would commanders clear material that would put their own troops at risk? You can find the full response from the Minister's office to our questions on the Hungry Beast website, along with extended versions of the operational footage and the interviews with Peter Lay and James Brown.
Welcome to WikiLane, where we reveal the 5 least interesting WikiLeaks revelations. Number 5. Cable 06 Lima 4570 from the US Embassy, Lima. The Peruvian president now has slightly larger jowls and a growing paunch. Number 4. Cable 04 Brussels 1868. Over dinner with the European Commissioner for External Relations, the ambassador had to eat rubbery fish. Number 3. Cable 06 Havana 8986. A Cuban woman managed to get her tooth capped successfully. Number 2. Cable 09 Santiago 899. In 2004, presidential candidate Eduardo Frei opted for a more casual hairstyle. And the number 1 least interesting WikiLeaks revelation, Cable 08 Baghdad 501. Attendance to the Baghdad Zoo increased dramatically in 2007.
Every day, you and I unwittingly act in dozens of never-ending films, all thanks to the unstoppable spread of security cameras.
With camera after camera tracking our every public move, it was only a matter of time before somebody worked out how to have a bit of fun with it. And it's called video sniffing, the art of intercepting live CCTV footage, and it's giving birth to a brand new kind of filmmaking.
Video sniffing first emerged in the last few years primarily from the UK, a country with an estimated 4.2 million CCTV cameras, the highest density of any nation in the world. One of the earliest examples came in 2007 from a group of street kids who wrote a small script to act out in front of their local cameras, and then they intercepted the wirelessly transmitted footage and edited it into a film.
So, how does it work? Well, with this thing, this is a wireless personal video recorder. We bought this online for like $100, and all you need to do is cycle through the channels until you find something. It's a little bit like playing this giant game of hot and cold. All you're looking for is a shape in the static, something that'll give you a sense of a landmark. And then once you find that, it's kind of about triangulating it, which is actually just a fancy way of saying you wander around in circles a lot.
Legally speaking, video sniffing is a very grey, untested area. It seems that in certain circumstances, intercepting a camera feed without consent could be breaking Australian law, and the copyright in the footage always belongs to the owner, but they still have to advise you that they're filming, which a lot of them don't. And yes, all of these very confused shop owners did give us permission. Curiously, we may even have a right to access the images we feature in.
I was wandering around Central Station yesterday, and I noticed you guys had a lot of security cameras. Is there a way that we could request that footage?
And after some particularly bad hold music, I was told that I could access the footage by making a Freedom of Information request. It's this that sits right at the heart of the first feature film made entirely by CCTV. Faceless is an eerie 50-minute science fiction flick set in a dystopian future where time itself has been banned, leaving everyone in a state of permanent present. The filmmaker Manu Luksch spent 4 years performing on the London streets in front of CCTV cameras, then going through the protracted process of requesting the images from the camera's owners. Most sent her CDs or videotapes with the faces of the other passers-by blanked out. In one instance, though, a bank printed out a copy of every single frame, leaving Luksch with a mountain of paper. The other faces had been cut out with nail scissors. Whether it's the high art of Faceless or the fart-assing of Street Kids, we may well be looking at the beginning of a lo-fi cinematic resistance movement. The rise of surveillance culture means our faces, our movements, our daily choices no longer belong to only us.
Video sniffing is about playing Big Brother at his own game, about forcibly taking back control over not just your privacy, but who controls your image. Because not everyone is lucky enough to be born with a giant black dot for a face.
Meet Axiom. It's a company you may know little about, but chances are it knows a lot about you. In 1978, Axiom built the world's first marketing database. Today, this global corporation holds 750 billion pieces of information on 375 million people. Axiom's data is mined from phone books, property records, customer surveys and warranty cards. It also tracks web behaviour and buys lists from other collection companies, merging all of it into profiles of individual citizens, each identified by a 13-digit number. Axiom is Rome, explains Pam Dixon, Executive Director of the World Privacy Forum. All roads lead to Rome. Axiom sells your data to companies and government agencies who use it to target advertising, run background checks on employees and screen for terrorists. On September 14, 2001, hours after the FBI released the names of the 9/11 hijackers, Axiom profiled 11 of the 19 suspects via its databases. Not long after, the US government enlisted Axiom to help develop a system capable of picking possible terrorists from airline passenger lists. Named CAPS-2, it was abandoned in 2004 after grounding innocent flyers, including Senator Ted Kennedy. Axiom spread to Australia in 1999, where its first CEO was Andrew Robb, now Shadow Minister for Finance and Debt Reduction. Until 2002, Axiom Australia was 50% owned by media giant PBL. In 2003, the company was issued with a formal warning by the Australian Communications Authority for selling unlisted phone numbers to marketers. The numbers were taken from the same phone number database used by police and emergency services. In 2009, Axiom was condemned for attempting to collect the private information of 20,000 St Vincent de Paul supporters through the charity's Christmas mail-out survey. This led the chairman of the Australian Privacy Foundation to note that Axiom looms in the background as a raper and pillager of consumer data. For a company so willing to share information about all of us, Axiom is reluctant to reveal much about itself. Repeated Hungry Beast requests for an interview or clarification of the company's activities were politely but firmly deflected. Axiom. It knows who you are, where you are, and at least some of what you're up to. You are being watched.
There are some things about ourselves we don't immediately reveal to other people. These three guys are about to let you in on something that might surprise you.
Sometimes I can be a bit nervous about telling someone or wondering if they know.
I don't like to tell people, so I haven't told anyone who doesn't need to know.
How's the nanny, mate? Kind of, to me, it seems like a weird thing to do straight away. It's like telling someone a secret.
You know, it's a small town, people talk. This is an exciting topic for conversation, I'm sure, like it's pretty juicy.
Sometimes I'm also concerned about, whether or not I'll be taken seriously, and maybe it will damage my professional reputation, maybe it will damage my organisation's reputation. Yeah, there's lots of different things that run through my head.
I feel like it's the right time to talk to someone when I know that I want to be friends with them and when lying feels uncomfortable. There was one girl who I met who didn't know, and I told her while we were on our first date, and she seemed to really like it. It didn't turn her off at all.
This one time I was out and been dancing, and there's this kind of hot guy, and kind of been checking each other out, and I guess things moved faster than I anticipated, and then we're having a bit of a pash. And I was like, do we go home together? If we're going to go home together, I have to tell him,
Yeah, it's an adventure. I guess my approach is to have, like, a couple of dates and don't get down and dirty on those dates.
If it's just a harmless pash, I typically would tell someone, but in that scenario, it just moved too fast. So I kind of pulled him aside and went, I've got to let you know something, and told him. I haven't always been a dude. I just kind of cut straight into it.
I haven't always been male. I was born a female, and I started my transition about 10 years ago, and now I'm a man.
She smiled and said, I know, and said, and I think it's the most wonderful thing that you are living your truth so honestly. Actually, it's incredibly hot to me.
He was pretty surprised that he had no idea. He was pretty, I think, kind of like, what?
It is funny watching people do the maths in their head sometimes. Like, you can see it on their face when working it out.
Hey, who's a clever boy?
When I first met Ed, she knew. I met her at a friend's dinner party, and she saw me walk in the room and was like, wow, he's really cute. And she said to the person next to her, who's he? And this guy goes, oh, that's Danny, he's trans, blah, 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 and told her about me, like, straight away.
You go, go.
To me, if it's a secret, it's because it's something I'm ashamed of, so I try to make it not a secret.
I don't think there's that same visibility about trans guys as there is about trans women. I've had a few reactions that have been maybe a little bit offensive, without them meaning to be, I think.
I think the primary question that people ask is, have you got a dick? And I think, it's so impolite.
I told this man that I was trans, and he said, yes, but do you still have your male appendage? And I thought back on it, I was like, oh, he thought I was a guy, like, going, but I'm a lady, you know what I mean? So that was funny.
I would prefer to tell them after they get to know me, so that they know me as a man and then learn. Because if I didn't tell them, they would be missing a huge part of my life experience and way of looking at the world.
There is one person I haven't told yet, and it's probably one of the most important people I'm going to have to tell, and that's my son, Elton. And I'm looking forward to it, but I am fearing it as well.
It feels like I'm being more honest when I meet someone and I just let them assume that I was biologically born a man. I feel like with strangers, they're seeing me for who I feel myself to be, for who I truly am, for this person that I've always been inside and am now physically representing. You're meeting me for who I am.
If you want to know more about these guys, we're having a web forum directly after the show where you can chat to Billy and Atari. I'll also be there along with transgender specialist counsellor Anthony Carlino to answer all your questions.
Follow the money.
£150,000 sterling, the amount spent last week by the UK Ministry of Defence to buy and pulp the entire print run of a new book critical of Britain's role in southern Afghanistan. €10 million. The cost of holding the Bilderberg Conference, an annual meeting of 150 of the world's most powerful people. Despite existing since 1954, this secret meeting was only proven to be real in 2001. $400,000. The cumulative amount an average Scientologist will have to pay to the church before learning all the secrets of the religion. Well, that's it for tonight, but you can keep up with us during the week at the website and via Facebook and Twitter.
Next week, close your doors, shut your windows and lock yourself in tight as we tackle the subject of captivity. Good night.